Big news out of Florida today in a major case that we brought you here on Court TV. The judge who presided over the Parkland school shooter trial is stepping down. Judge Elizabeth Scherer submitted her resignation letter to Florida's governor's office today.
And this comes after Judge Scherer was removed from another death penalty case just last month. The state Supreme Court said that she showed bias toward the prosecution during the trial of Nicholas Cruz.
You need to sit down right now. You're out of line. In fact, you're excused. You need to go sit in the back with your chief public defender.
That was the moment when Judge Scherer made one of Cruz's attorneys leave the defense table because she said he threatened her children. She was also called out for leaving the bench to hug the victims and the prosecution's team following sentencing. This is a case, you may recall, in which the death penalty was not recommended by the jury, which is what the prosecution was seeking. Florida's Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers filed a complaint about her behavior following the trial.
Judge Scherer told Court TV that her decision to step down is unrelated to the backlash over that Parkland case, and that she decided long before the trial to pursue other career opportunities after the case's conclusion. Her resignation is effective on June 30th. All right, still with us, criminal defense attorney Joseph Tully. Joseph, I want to begin just by asking your reaction to this. A lot of us had a visceral reaction to the way she handled that case. Love to get your thoughts.
Sure. I think I did some commentating with Court TV for that case, and I, from the very outset, I just felt that her whole vibe was very poor. She displayed poor judicial demeanor and bias, and I could sniff it. You know, I've been around a lot of judges, and you know, this was someone that I think seemed over her head and also seemed very biased, and didn't really even try to filter that out or try to keep it in check as much as she should have. So, you know, I applaud her for stepping down, and you know, I think it's a good lesson for other judges out there to be fair.
Yeah, I have to agree. And, you know, I've been around a lot of judges, too. As a matter of fact, I sit next to one every day. So let me turn to you. And I know we talked a lot during the trial. We both felt that she didn't have a judicial temperament.
No.
There's a temperament, there's a way to stay above and outside of the fray. She seemed to be in the middle of the fray, maybe even creating the fray. Yeah. So your thoughts?
Yeah, I was really bothered. Just some of the comments you have both made, I would echo. I was bothered during the course of that trial because I felt like it was not judicial temperament, but really unprofessional. And as attorneys, as judges, we're on the same page in that sense. We have to be professional, and we have to uphold the ethics that are prescribed to us, whether we're practicing attorney or a judge on the bench. And so I was truly bothered. I too felt like she was biased. And I must ask you this, Joseph, because it almost backfired if you believe that she appeared to be biased towards the prosecution seeking the death penalty. Surprising, I think, to everyone who watched this, that that's not what the jury recommended. Do you think that her demeanor at all affected, even if it was not purposeful, but affected the outcome of what that jury recommended for sentencing?
Sure. Anger and hatred do not play well in court. And, you know, I think that usually juries will tolerate bad behavior by prosecutors and judges a lot more than from defense attorneys. But I think here it clearly could have been something where the jury was turned off by her behavior so much so that it impacted, you know, what the jury's findings were.
And I have to say this, I'm going to tell you, when I was on the bench, people knew me better than I knew myself. And so you could talk to attorneys that were in my courtroom a lot, and they can tell you things about my demeanor on the bench, my personality on the bench. I promise you that this probably wasn't surprising to those attorneys that practice in front of her a lot, because you too can read judges, because you know judges, because you've been in courtrooms. And so I have to think that this was not the first instance of any concern about her demeanor on the bench.
Yeah, I would have to agree. And as a matter of fact, I think we had heard during the trial there was some history of some problem between her and a couple of people on the defense team. So that might have been the case. And I think even as a prosecutor, there was some issues there. You also don't believe her story. you say, at least from your experience, that number one, people have to understand judgeships are these coveted positions, right? And you just don't buy her story.
I don't. Do I think that the reprimand by the Supreme Court is the reason she's stepping down? Maybe not, but I think that she did not decide to resign before this trial ever happened. I think instead a culmination of all these things, then she chose to resign. But that's just my opinion, but that's clearly what I think.
But you said usually when something like that happens, if you go to someone, your chief judge, for instance,
Yes.
and say you're going to be leaving shortly, that becomes a big rumor around the courthouse.
Oh, gosh,
and I can
everybody
attest to
knows.
that. You know when judges are leaving or have other things going on.
Especially because there are other people that want to fill that seat. You're absolutely right. So, Joseph, do you think that this, I'm going to put you on the spot, just like my wonderful friend and colleague did, but do you believe that this was a decision she's reached unrelated to the case and it was a decision she made before the Cruz case?
I don't buy it for a second. This is someone, based on her behavior in court, this is someone who likes power. This is someone who likes prestige. Being a judge gives her both of those. She worked her way up to that position to get there, to have the power and prestige, and there's no way, in my opinion, that she would have just given that up willy-nilly. I think that getting the smackdown from the Supreme Court really put her in check, thankfully so.
Yeah, and I think, she was just going to face constant challenges by the defense bar. Every time a case came in front of her, they were going to bring something up. So she was facing a tough road to hoe beyond that point. But I do want to, just in possible defense of her, this was a difficult case. I don't know what her history completely was, but this was a difficult case because he was such an unlikable defendant, and the whole state, the whole world was against him. So I can understand some of that emotion might have come from that.
Sure, but the role of a judge is to be the impartial arbiter of a situation. Let the prosecution, let the law enforcement, convey those facts, not the judge.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is a tough case all the way around. But we have run out of time. Thank you so much, Joseph Tully, for joining us this hour.